Kelsey, if you'd kindly call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Day?
Present.
Ms. Cruz?
Here.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
And Mr. Robinette?
He is apparently going to be online or in here eventually. All right, let's see. Staff reports, Kelsey?
Yeah, just a couple of things for you guys today. So you all know that we had our tree giveaway, a fantastic program to give residents trees to plant in their yards. So we had 160 trees. Some of them were provided by the Pelican Island Audubon Society, and then some of them were also provided by the Florida Forest Service, and then others were provided by the city. So we had multiple partners this year working in collaboration. We had 160 trees total. We still have about 50 trees left. So we'll be looking to still give those trees away to any interested residents. We're going to be posting what we have left this week, and then we'll just call or email ahead, and then we'll be able to provide those trees still. Any questions about that?
Could you give a little summary of the names of the trees or the kinds of trees?
So off the top of my head, here's what we have left. We have live oaks, mahogany, holly. I think there's a couple soapberry. There's sea grape and green buttonwood. I believe that is all there is left.
The green button is the versus silver button.
Right. We only have green buttonwoods this time.
Are they smaller than the silver? Or something that's different?
They're maybe 2.5 to 3
At this
feet
point, yes.
tall.
Yeah, but I meant that.
Full grown,
Oh,
they're
maximum.
20 plus.
The silver is smaller at maximum.
Okay.
The green is a little bigger. The smallest one is probably the soapberry or the holly that's left.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll post that list again so everybody is aware of it later this week. And then a couple of things are going on at the Maritime Hammock Preserve that I thought you all want to know about. So as far as our requirements to the Florida Communities Trust, we had to offer a certain number of recreational activities out there. One of them was supposed to be tetherball, but we got that amended and approved for a swing set. So the swing set's actually up. It's out there. I think they finished it last week. If you guys want to go check it out, it's over near the playground area. We just moved a couple of pieces of equipment around, and we're able to fit that swing in there for the enjoyment of everybody. And then our technology department is working on installing a couple of security cameras out at the hammock as well, just due to some security and vandalism concerns that have been happening out there. So those will probably be up hopefully before the next meeting. But I'll let you guys know when those are up.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up is I did get an email about the North Thousand Islands Conservation Area, and that management plan needs to be updated. So we need to probably start looking at that one as well, in addition to the Beach and Dune management plan.
Okay. One thing, Kelsey, you did at the Sustainability Committee, you talked about the lighting survey that had been done and what happened with the turtle lights in in a survey recently. I wonder if you could give a quick update on that and maybe talk about where we're at with the ordinance on the updates on the ordinance on that.
Yes. Let me pull up those notes and I can tell you guys the exact same information that I gave them. So for the sea turtle lighting, you all know that we had a survey done last year in September. We identified, I think there was 96 different major concerning lights out there. Since then, we sent 36 letters to properties. Most of those properties, were beachfront properties, either condos, hotels, some were businesses. Other lights that were not included in those letters were public street lights, which we're working on separately with Florida Power and Light. But of those 36 properties that were notified, approximately 41% of them have met with me individually, and we've discussed this either over the phone or at their property, so they're definitely making way on making those improvements. And I let the Sustainability Committee know that most of these properties, although they want to make these changes as soon as possible, there's a few things kind of standing in their way. Number one is these lights can be expensive, and retrofitting, half of your property can be expensive and something that they didn't account for. There's also a large lead time on actually acquiring these lights. So I have a few properties that ordered them and they still have not received them. So we're definitely starting to make some headway, but definitely not all the way there yet. And then we're going to be having another lighting survey done within the next 2 weeks so that we can identify, if there's been improvements or if there are additional lights that were not picked up on that first survey that we had back in September. So then we can take all of this data that we're getting from these surveys and identifying, where is our current ordinance as far as are there lights that are not inclusive in our current code of ordinance language. Maybe we need to figure out if those lights are problematic, what types of things we need to be considering. One thing that I know that's kind of stuck out recently is lights that are aids to navigation may need to be considered in the ordinance language. Our ordinance doesn't say anything about them, but if they are a Coast Guard approved light, that might be something that we would exempt from having to turn off just for safety reasons. So there's a few things that we might need to think about, as well as different distances from the beach of lights that are visible. But when we have that report, I think they were supposed to get it to me by the 25th of this month. I will share that with you guys and we can kind of take a second look at the ordinance. But from where we are right now, we're just gathering the data to see what actually we need to improve upon.
Okay.
So you're just,
Go ahead.
you're just concerned about the beach lighting during turtle nesting season, not because there are lights all over the city that they've tried to massage into putting a shade on so that they're not lighting up the whole street, that it just directs the light down to where specifically on your property you want illuminated. I just thought, there's so many questions about that with people. They're like, where do I get that light? If there's a list of recommended shades.
Yeah, so Florida Fish and Wildlife, they have a list of recommended lights. And those are also the types of things that I'm recommending when I meet with these properties individually. Now, the way our ordinance currently reads is if the light is visible from the beach and it's within 150 yards of the dune line, it's like some measurement like that, then it would need to fall within these requirements. But if it's beyond that and it's still visible from the beach, it would not qualify. So what I think you're referring to is a lot of street lights are starting to get those shades on them to direct it down. A lot of those are just because they're visible from the beach. So we just are trying to make that light go down where it needs to be.
Well, that's specific to the beach and the turtles and all that, but the city has a lighting ordinance that says that you're to put these shades on, and along those lines, I thought they were putting something in the code also about like jack lighting the fish on your dock kind of thing, and all those colored lights. Is that going to be the same ordinance, and what you're referring to is a separate section?
So the current ordinance that would be updated is the beachfront lighting standards. That would be updated.
Okay.
The dock lighting is not beachfront lighting, so it's different.
All right. So that's going to be in a different part of the code.
I don't know where it's going to end up 100%. We're not there yet. We are in the data gathering stage. I don't know what pieces are going to be pulled and mixed around. I don't know.
Okay.
But those are definitely good things to bring up because I'm sure that will come to this group. At that time, bring it up if you notice things in other areas of the code that may be conflicting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kelsey. Let's see, next we have the election of the vice chair. And since I'm probably going, in fact, I will probably miss the next meeting and be gone for June, July, August, and maybe September, we will need a vice chair. And and since there are only 3 of us in attendance tonight,
I nominate Carol.
Okay. In the absence of other people, I'll second that. Nominate Carol. Will you accept a nomination? Let's put it that way.
With the understanding, this committee and Kelsey, that, Janice, you don't know me, but I'm relatively new to the committee. I was appointed last November, so a year.
Last
so it's
fall,
been a year, fall of 21. So I don't have the history. Unfortunately, the previous vice chair, she had a long history. Right. So I will do my best, but I don't come with that wealth of knowledge about the issues, in this community. I have a decent background, but not with the specific issues. So I will do my best to fill it.
Okay. I will say that I will be probably calling in for all of those, so I can back you up. Oh,
So do we have a quorum?
we do. We have
So
3 out of
vote.
5, even though we are missing an appointment. I assume Commissioner Capizzi has not appointed anyone at this point, or?
I checked on that and he has not yet made a selection.
So we are, other than Mike, who's hopefully going to call in eventually, we do have a quorum. We have 3 of 5, so we're good.
Okay.
Any other nominations? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carol?
Okay.
Or if you care to abstain or whatever.
I know.
It's unanimous.
I guess. Thank you. So, again, I'll be available at least for the coming ones, usually remotely, but in any case. That is an interesting way to dial in. So, one thing I found last year is that the online version lags about 10 or 20 seconds of what's actually occurring in the room. So it was interesting to watch you guys, but being already ahead of the game when I'm listening to y'all. So any case, that covers that. All right, we're down to the beach and dune management plan. This afternoon, I took a look at the beach and dune, the latest version that Kelsey put
Sorry,
out.
I have to back you up. We missed approval of the year-end report and approval of the meeting minutes.
Okay, all right, sorry, you're right. All right, the year-end report, the only thing I had on that was Tim Tumblely's name was misspelled.
Okay.
It has an I in it, if I'm not mistaken, that should be a Y.
Okay. I will check on the spelling.
That's the only thing I had on that. Do we need a motion for that? Okay. Anybody care to make a motion to approve the year-end report?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any others? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Kelsey, for picking up on that. All right, beach and dune management plan.
And
Yes.
the meeting.
Meeting minutes.
Yeah, meeting minutes, okay. And that's right, we have the, I need to read the agenda rather than doing it, but in any case. We have the January 9th meeting minutes. If all of us remember that meeting a few months ago, the last time we met. Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, now we can move to the beach and dune management plan. Again, I took a look at the plan, I buzzed through it pretty quick, and the memo I put in front of you is basically some bits and pieces that need to be updated and a few edits, and actually there are a couple edits I think I found just a few minutes ago that from other things. And one thing I would add to that was that I haven't looked at closely at this one, and Kelsey, maybe you can help me out here a little bit. That one of the things that that was talked about at least in a previous version, was that several of the access points are quote ADA access. They're not. I would suggest that we edit that to call them handicapped access points. And one of my logic behind that is that some of you may remember that a few years ago there was a group that sued several of the cities on not having ADA acceptable access to documents online. In fact, some of the cities got sued and paid some money. I would suspect that the same type of mindset would come at us for saying that these are ADA access points when they are not fully ADA. They are handicapped access, but not fully ADA compliant. And so I would suggest that we might edit that to say that these are handicapped access, period.
If I may
Go
offer,
right ahead.
instead of saying that, they could say barrier-free access.
Okay.
That way you're
would-
not even getting close
to-
to trying to say that And barrier-free are the ones that we know aren't gonna have steps.
Yeah.
So we're
Okay.
looking to put more on grade or just the ramp. So that's just a
Yeah,
suggestion,
that
because we do
sounds
have a
excellent.
number of those, and part of our recommendation is to be creating more barrier-free, because we realize that's good for many people
Right.
there, and I think it makes it very clear what it is.
And a lot of other reasons,
Yeah,
yeah.
and a lot of other reasons.
That's a very good suggestion, thank you.
I'll also ask the city engineer, he's been working closely with the city attorney on these issues, so I'll ask him if there's certain language we need to use for this.
Yeah, that's true, he's gonna know much better.
Yeah, yeah. Any case, yeah, that's good. And one of the things that I saw, actually this morning, and I told Kelsey about this a few minutes ago, that somebody was headed down 3rd Street North, which is one of the, quote, barrier-free ones, and driving a golf cart right down there, loaded up for the beach, the coolers, the chairs, the umbrella, headed off down to the beach, and then headed off south, so,
In a golf cart?
in a golf cart. So,
I'd like to think that a beach ranger noticed that and turned them around.
Yeah,
But I
right.
don't know, because I was not there.
yeah, but whatever, the beach rangers weren't out at that hour of the morning, because it was 7:30, 8 o'clock, so, any case, and there are some people that would take advantage of that, so,
Well, and it goes back to that saying, you see someone else do it, well, it must be
Yeah,
okay to park here, it
exactly.
must be okay to do that. He did it, she did it.
yeah,
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 that's a,
any
But
case.
Isn't it logical that that's where that golf cart thing's gonna go? That if they load it up and take it to the beach, they're not gonna wanna unload it and walk down the beach to set up. They're gonna wanna drive it to where they wanna set up on the beach.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
mean, just,
obviously, you wouldn't want to put a pole in the middle of the beach access point to stop that, because then you're going to think people with the need to get there that are handicapped would be.
however, that's a good point. That I don't know how wide the golf cart is,
Yeah,
but usually
not
a
very.
bollard, as long as it has a clearance of 36 inches, it
Yeah.
meets
Yeah,
ADA
okay.
accessibility. But
Okay.
not enough for perhaps a golf cart. Boy, that's a tricky situation.
Yeah, any case.
It's just not one thing, it's another.
Just an FYI,
Yeah.
that in addition to the things I put down here, and basically, a lot of these are information needs, like the map, the first one, there's a spot for the map, but it's not there. Dog violation fine is not listed. Page 42, they're looking for, there's information needed for, and
I see
again,
that, yeah.
yeah, for cost of the waste management contract and what the cost for the beach rangers are. 43, it's what, is the city receiving any state or federal funding for beach stuff? And I don't know, but I tend to doubt that. And,
Right now, the only funding is beach renourishment programs.
yeah, and that's federal more than state, if I'm not mistaken. And that's through the county, it's not directed to the city.
Right.
So,
wasn't there something through the TDC that they,
The TDC funds, I believe, a portion, not all, of KBB's trash pickup on
Right.
beaches.
well, when they went over that item in the budget at the county about 2 meetings ago, they said just keep it the way it was last year. There were no increases and no cuts. So there was a big question in the public about, are they contributing to beach renourishment or not? I guess not.
I don't think they are. That beach renourishment, I'm pretty sure, is primarily funded by the Army
Yeah.
Corps.
yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not quite sure how necessary this is for the beach management plan. It's information that's interesting, but any case. And then we're down for beach water quality monitoring. There was the federal Beach Act, which came to the state, which then transferred, it was given to the health departments. And I don't believe that there is any, quote, county or city part of that in there. And funding for Blue Water Task Force, which is a surf rider thing, I think it's totally surf rider. I know the local chapter at Surf Rider has bought equipment and spends time and does the analysis and such like. To my knowledge, there's no federal or local funding in that, whatever. And I'm not aware of any other federal programs that do beach stuff. Again, Kelsey, chime in if you think of anything. One of the key things you need to look at is that there are a series of recommendations starting at 45, but we need to look at them and see if there are other things that we could recommend for future actions by the city or whoever to get things that needed to be done in the future time. And there are a couple things here, like one of the things in Appendix G, which talks about various and assorted critters and plants that are in the area. It talks about Titusville Balm, but Titusville Balm is nothing. It's nowhere here on the beach. It's in Titusville. And the dusky seaside sparrow never was in Cocoa Beach, but it was at one time on the Space Center property, Northern Island National Wildlife Refuge, and had its own refuge in the St. Johns Basin. So again, is that something really necessary to have in here? In Appendix J, it talks about the A1A Scenic Byway, which is actually in Flagler County. However, we do have the Indian River Lagoon National Scenic Byway here that runs through Cocoa Beach. And that might be perhaps better purpose. And as you remember, we went through or I provided with my version of a beach-based businesses inventory. And do we need to finalize that and include this in here, or is that something that's not particularly germane to a beach management plan? And at this point, the plan is about 160 pages. 60 of them are the photos of the beach access points, 50 pages of text, and about 50 pages of appendices. And any case, that's a quick overview. The first time I've looked at this since January. So again, where do we go from here with this? One thing that we talked about was forwarding this, I think, to the planning staff and possibly Public Works and maybe rec people, and have them take a look at it, look at their comments and suggestions. And I guess, Kelsey, what would be the process for that? Is this something that's necessary? Where do we need to go?
I do think it's necessary. I don't know if we are quite there. I
Okay.
had some staff look at it. I think we need to do a few things before we do that. I think we need to have more of like a finalized, here's what we want it to be. I
Yeah.
also feel very strongly that we need a good executive summary section.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, 160 pages is not friendly
Yeah.
for the, short-term, quick reader. And I think it'll be effective to help people understand exactly what we're trying to portray.
Right.
Had Joni started on that?
So I do have a little something from Joni. I think it could be kind of refined.
She's in Ireland today.
Yeah. I think it could be. So does somebody want to volunteer to work on that? And I can send it to you, and you can kind of take your own spin on it and bring
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll take a hack at it, and others are
And then-
welcome to do
okay.
as well, so.
How about I
Maybe
send it
by
to
something, if we
everybody?
bulk and mind meld 2 or 3 of us, we might
Okay.
have something good.
Because you have the most comprehensive, long view.
I don't know about that.
Then I'm happy to jump in too.
Yeah, please do, because
Okay.
others, if you have an idea of things that ought to be in a summary, please put them together. We'll discuss them another time.
So I'll send you a Joni put together, and then how about the next meeting? You all come back with your comments and feedback, and we can really start to kind of hone this in.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
And are we looking for the executive summary to really be basically the purpose of it, general overview?
High points.
Yeah.
I'd like it
A
to
few
paint
lines.
the picture of what the plan portrays.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah,
Try
just
and
not
keep
in
it-
so many words.
you're right.
Yeah.
Keep it around 1 page if you can, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when you,
I know, yes.
to your
I agree.
point,
Yeah.
the meat of this is only 40-something pages.
Yeah.
Everything else is
Is-
the appendices.
Right,
the-
right, right. Other information, which is interesting, but not necessarily directly, yeah.
And then I think
Okay.
another thing that needs to come along with the recommendations is we have a lot of really great recommendations, but I think one of the things kind of going back a year or so ago when we first started talking about this is which beach accesses, if we were to make a plan for, do they need restoration? Do they need plantings? Do they need invasive
Yeah.
plants removed? Is there some type of
And rope, that sort of stuff.
priority list
Yeah.
that we would say these areas need something? Because when it comes to, thinking about a grant funding or budgeting or anything like that, if we apply for a project, it's easy to say, hey, this is identified in our plan as a critical area.
So, right, because in our recommendations, like, we'll have install post and rope walkway borders along dunes at all beach access points.
Right. But we can't do all of that like next month. So we
Right.
would probably need to identify, like, are there high traffic areas or are there other things? that
Do
need to-
5 or 10 a year, something like that.
So, do
Yeah.
you know how many are still lacking? And you don't
So
have-
we did an initial
Yeah,
survey,
but it
but that
needs
was
to be updated,
2 years
probably.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Three-
that was at least 3 years ago that we did that, and then,
Yeah, Joni and I went out, I think, last summer.
yeah, okay.
The reason I'm asking that is because it is sitting in a short-term target, 1 to 3 years, and it just says install post and rope walkway borders along dunes at all beach access. So basically saying within 3 years, we would have it.
Okay.
But if we know that, we want how many we have, we could refine that statement a little bit better.
Yeah, and then I think also going back to like the invasive plants, I mean, there's some areas that are like really bad, like Shepherd Park is like all Brazilian pepper and like a little bit of sea grape and stuff in the front. So that may be an area that may be appropriate to plan
start
a
it,
restoration or identify it as a critical area. There could be other beach accesses also that are worse.
Well, beyond the beach plan specifically, I find it really interesting that you can go around town. Now, just to ask a question before I say more, this Schefflera umbrella tree,
Mhm.
is that different from the variegated Schefflera everybody's planting all over
The bushes,
the
Yes, those are
hedges?
arbicola, but they're very much related to each other.
Because it, not just to do with the dune and the beach, but why is the city, when they put it, I mean, you don't know the answer, I doubt, but the city requires that developers landscape. Why are they planting invasive plants? Why is the city not doing something about the invasive plants that they put all over? It's quite amazing to me. I don't know why the state
I
hasn't
don't-
prohibited their sale, but they've put them in all the invasive lists, category 1,
I don't disagree, but it's not directly to this plan. I agree, but that's another thing for another time, perhaps, to get into the.
Does that topic sit with the sustainability because it has an approved, does the city have an approved planting
so
list?
the way that the code reads is Florida friendly is encouraged, and I think it would need to be something that's discussed with the Development Services Department, because I
Yeah.
don't know under what conditions landscaping is required to be submitted for review.
Yes.
I think if it's a big giant site plan, landscaping is required, but if you just want to do your front garden, I don't think that you need a plan for that.
Right.
I think so,
Yeah, you can pretty much plant whatever you want in your own yard, but, again, any case. Yeah, I agree that's a topic that needs discussion, but it's probably not part of this plan.
Well, it's in the plan, no, Sanserbia, I didn't see that on this list, and that mother-in-law tongue that's.
Sansevieria. Is it called, it has like 5 names. It could be called snake plant.
Snake
Yeah.
plant.
Oh,
Yeah.
that mother-in-law tongue.
Is it not on the list?
Yeah, I think it is. If I'm
Did you
not
see it?
mistaken,
No, I
I,
lost my page here. The one on common invasive plants, I see bowstring hemp.
That is the same.
that's
It
it.
is?
That's mother-in-law's, huh?
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know it was called that.
Yeah, there's, like everything else, there's a scientific name and then there's
The other.
100
Okay.
common names.
Yeah.
But that's one of the ones I'm sure that, Because I looked at it too and went, huh? Bowstring plan? Yeah. It said, I know it is something else. So
Oh, I see
your
it,
mother-in-law's tongue.
Yeah.
That's sharp and pointed, yeah.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I don't disagree, Janice. I just think that, that's a topic for another time, if we're going to get outside the beach management plan on that. But in any case, yeah.
Well, that's how the birds, I'm not, but that's how they get.
I know,
moved around.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not arguing. I just think that for our beach management
Right.
plan, it needs to be fairly specific to the beach. Any case. Okay. So what we've got here is we need a summary. We need a priority list for the actions. We need to go back and look at the recommended actions and again, look at that list that's in there, see what's missing. Are there other things that we need to add? Are there other things that are in there that maybe are not high priority? And maybe put a priority on them, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5, long-term, whatever we want to call long-term, beyond 5 years.
Yeah, because I think that the recommendations are going to be the critical piece
Okay.
that staff are going to kind of take from this plan. All of the history is fantastic, but staff want the recommendations.
Right. And I'll lay this on you. If you want to add, delete, or whatever on that list, please do so. 'Cause
Okay.
I respect I think we all respect your judgment on this, so that would be extremely helpful if you got your input as well.
Something that may be food for thought is if it's not, like here's the recommendation, it could be a different section that just mentions other things to consider
Consider.
that
yeah.
the group discussed. Maybe it's not something we don't have an action item for,
Right.
but to keep it.
And again, what Janice has mentioned, that the plants that are out in the rest of the city that perhaps might be something or other to be considered. It's
And
not part of this plan, but it's something that at some point in the future needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and then something else that I just thought of, and it might kind of throw a curveball and make extra work for somebody, but so right now, if somebody wants to do restoration in their dunes outside of their home or their condo or their hotel, they have to go through the proper steps to do that. If they just clean cut everything, that's
Yeah.
not super fantastic. We want to make sure it's restored in a way that is beneficial to the dunes. So I think it might be helpful if we included this information in the plan to say, here is the process, and I can give that information because I know it. And then also here's a list of approved plants that we would say you can select from this list to do your restoration planting. And then here is recommendations on how planting should occur, whether it's spacing or,
Timing.
the
da-da-da-da-da.
timing. Also, when I read some DEP documents, it recommended a minimum of 3 species, different plant species. So we're not only planting sea
Right.
grape. We want a lot of things. And then there's something else I was going to mention, but I think it would be good to
Yeah.
have some guidance for how that process works.
Please put that in if you could. And
That'll be my homework assignment.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, especially sea grapes, they grow and people on the first floor of the condos complain they can't see the ocean or the beach anymore.
Strangely enough, they disappear.
Well, I know, it's just like aliens come and get them in the middle of the night. But when they go along the dunes to change their landscaping or control it or something, is there a recommendation in here about how to go about it? Is that part of the
That's what I
process?
think you're
That's what I'm
suggesting.
talking about.
Yeah.
So the way that the process works right now is they have to get permits through the city and permits through DEP. And I personally relay this information to every property. So it would be great to have kind of a standard thing for
Yeah,
them to
yeah.
reference, just so that, I don't have to repeat the same thing to every property. And that way they're getting all the information and can reference back to it.
Well, I know that that's been problematic in some condos that have a wide dune area that's had a lot of vegetation over the years. But along those lines, besides pruning, would they use herbicide to?
Control.
Okay, so the one thing that I've even experienced myself, it's better sometimes to cut something off at the ground and tap it with herbicide and leave the root system in place,
Yes.
not to cause too much disturbance. Is that part of the process
Yes,
with
so
them
the
as well?
current recommendation is that the existing dune topography should not be disturbed. So they should cut it off, and like you said, I usually recommend that they dab something on there, not broadcast spray or
Right,
dig anything
right.
up. But yeah, that would be part of the recommendation
Yeah,
document
that's
as
great,
well.
because,
And
I've seen
cut
some-
stump would be preferred over
Right.
foliar, yeah.
I don't even tell them foliar is allowed. I just
Yeah.
say cut stump, like just
Cut
no
stump is
foliar
the
spraying,
method,
please.
yeah. Okay, well, that sounds
That could be
good.
discussed.
Okay,
So,
go ahead,
just-
go ahead, Karen.
Kelsey, should this all go and be reworked as Appendix D? Because right now it says recommended plant list for dune restoration and supplementation. The only individuals that are gonna go to dune restoration are either gonna be publicly owned property, which will be managed by the city or county, and then all the rest of this applies to the private beachfront property owners.
Yeah.
Should we retitle it? You look at that and see, title it as guidelines for this, for private property, beachfront private property owners.
What is it called right now?
Right now, it's Appendix D, recommended plant list for dune restoration and supplementation.
What if we call it just recommended dune restoration standard guidelines?
Yeah, just
Because that
guidelines.
way it
Let's
could
just say
apply-
guidelines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could have just applied to everybody.
Sounds good.
And then people can, we can direct
Yeah,
people to that.
and
So-
what you are going to prepare.
So it would be the plant list and then examples.
And then the
of-
guidelines of their process they need to follow, and then this is gonna be online, then you can start redirecting them to Appendix D.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That sounds good. That sounds like an
Okay.
excellent suggestion. Okay, have we beaten that part to death, or is there more?
Something else in the plan I noticed that we need some tweaking. The section in the back, it's the appendix with all the photos of the beach accesses. Some of those are incomplete. The information needs to either be added or the photo doesn't exist, or, so a lot of these photos, when Holly was here, you remember she put them in that spreadsheet and we couldn't get them out? I
Yep.
never got those photos from her. So some of these photos, we might just have to have somebody go retake.
Okay, this is the listing of crossovers and such like, those
Yeah, it's
photos?
like the photo of the crossover, and then it has like a description box, and
Yeah.
remember
and
that
they're-
section that Joni was working on?
Right, and there was no description in each of those, if I'm
Right, so
not
we need
mistaken.
somebody to kind of make that their own and just take it and run with it, because I don't think we're going to knock all that out in a meeting.
Okay, well, as I said, I'm leaving town, so.
You tell me exactly what needs to be done,
And basically, it's all, whatever it is, 30, 40 crossovers that are in the cities that would be
I thought
visiting
she got
each.
that done.
So she did, but some of it, and I don't have, I can't get it
Okay.
open because the Wi-Fi is not working. But we can talk, do you want to work on that, Carol? Okay, do you want to chat
Please,
offline
we
about
can-
that? We can do
Okay,
that.
okay.
Okay, we can work on
Because
that.
actually, there was a survey that Holly and I did 3 years ago,
Yeah.
4 years ago.
I think we need to kind of take all the information from all the different surveys and bring them in to this
Right,
document.
And kind of do a quick visit and make sure that the situation hasn't changed dramatically, I guess is the.
Right, because it was supposed to be like a fact sheet of the amenities there,
Right.
and a picture, 2 pictures, one from the street facing east, one from the beach facing west.
Yes, I don't think all of those pictures exist, or if some of them do, the sun wasn't right,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah, well, the ones that I saw in here actually look pretty good. And I'll have to thumb.
Maybe it was updated since I remember
Yeah, I
seeing
think you're right, that the description of them isn't there, but the photographs I thought basically were better than the ones I submitted. Okay, that's.
Doesn't Public Works have a survey of the dune crossovers?
Is that?
So
where is
we've
that
gone out to
online?
like
That's Kelsey's.
take some photos. It's mainly
Drive.
been like this group doing that.
Well,
We don't
yeah,
have
no, it's,
somebody
I
from Public Works that
downloaded
just
it and put it on my,
takes photos of the
it's
crossovers.
actually in
Oh,
the
you
G
want
drive.
the, but
Actually,
they do have the survey of the condition and where they're going to work next and all that
The
sort of
Google
thing. Because
Drive,
they were
but,
renovating something recently, some reason.
This is on. what
Yeah,
I'm
so
getting
there's
is
a
Google
list,
Drive.
like they have a priority list of which ones they want to redo based on if they're splinters.
Okay,
all
here we
sorts
go.
of stuff like
There's
that.
some of the, there's a
But
couple of.
I don't think we have a good condition condition
then
of
there's this
every
box
single
that
one.
has
Oh, okay.
notes.
Right.
And the notes is probably, I've got it here, the current plan. And again, Janice, that looks like, that's one of the photos that is actually, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, so we'd probably just want to work on formatting, making everything the same size,
Right.
making sure all the information is
And
correct.
filling out the notes section is
Yeah,
probably.
the notes section is totally bare. If we don't need it, we don't need to include
Right,
it.
because didn't she create a matrix?
Yeah, so there's things like parking spaces, is
Yep.
there
Right.
bathrooms available? Those
Right.
might be things that would be included there.
And where
Yeah.
is that matrix?
I have it.
Okay, so it's really just taking a look at that, is
And
this
then
true?
merging it.
Yeah,
Okay,
And merging it, yeah.
and I have the raw document that's not a PDF that I can send you. where you
Okay.
can Edit things.
Okay.
right. That would be, to me, step number one, like having a hard copy of everything and then just going to, yep, that's correct.
Yeah, or adding where there's stuff missing.
Verifying that.
Like, you know, as you said, there's so many parking spaces. This one has
Right.
this one has an electronic jobby-do, the other one has the QR code, da-da-da-da-da, that sort of thing.
I think they all have QR codes now, and they should, but that's something to verify.
Yeah, any case. But I think the pictures are pretty good, but the notes is, again, what's missing, so.
If we
Okay.
need them. We may not need them if everything's in the matrix.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But that isn't on your copy?
So I think the intent of the
This is a copy I got from
information
Kelsey
that,
today.
yeah, that Joni gathered, from what I understand from talking with her, is that she was going to take that information and then put it into this document.
Yeah.
And put in like, you know, there's RV parking and all of this, put it in here. But if that's not what the group wants anymore, we can just make it a separate spreadsheet or something, but that'll have to be
Yeah.
something you guys decide.
Well,
I guess I'd like to know, what is Drown Zero Station 28? What is that drown?
Those are the life buoys.
oh, okay,
I mean,
yeah, those are the
that-
life-saving stations that are in each crossover that Kiwanis, I think, sponsored all of those.
Rotary.
Rotary, yeah, and they have a
Okay, so that's.
life
just a-
ring, and I guess it tells people where they're at, so that they call 911. We'll stay, we're at station 28, and
Okay.
that would make information for fire and fire rescue to do the right thing.
So maybe that's a good point. If that's not clear, maybe it could be a
Right, there
photo of
needs
the
to be
station
something,
next to it. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. what
some explanation of what that is. Yeah, that's another little piece. So there's still you're right, there's still a fair amount of work to be done on this, but it's coming along pretty well, as far as I can see. Okay. And again, both of you folks, there is a Google Drive file on this that is public that you can access, that there's not only this material, again, the spreadsheet that I did of the beach businesses is there, this document is there, there's several other things. So there's a whole series of photos that were taken several years ago with the beach access points, but again, it's all on the Google Drive under Beach Dune Management. And it's shared with Kelsey and the members of this committee, plus Joni, and I think some of our previous members have access to it as well. I think you're right, I don't think that Holly ever put up her stuff on that
No,
drive.
it was in a document that we couldn't get them out of.
Yeah, okay, any case.
Yeah.
I don't know if Holly can extract them and give them to us or not,
I
but,
can try to reach out again. I had asked her a few times while she was still here, and it seemed like she wasn't able to because they were on her phone, and she wasn't able. I don't know.
yeah, okay.
can-
We'll give her a buzz and see if there's anything she can do to help us out, because now she's got all this time, she doesn't have to come to our meetings.
I think she had to leave the meetings because she didn't have time.
In any case, whatever.
Busy.
So, again, that's something that needs to happen. Okay, anything else while we're here on the Beach and Dune Management Plan? I have one further thing that just curious about. I noticed that in Cape Canaveral, on Buchanan Avenue, they have one of the Moby mats, and appears to be permanent.
You know, I was supposed to check on that Moby mat. I
Yeah.
know that they have worked something out, but I don't know the processes in which.
Now, what I did notice is that the Moby mat goes to the edge of the vegetation and stops.
Mhm.
So that may be the one saving grace for allowing that to be a permanent installation. And it may not work for us.
Yeah, I know that one of the Westgate properties had or has the Moby mat that went to the end of the vegetation line,
Yeah,
and they were allowed to have it.
yeah. Well, you know that big crossover that got constructed just north of Minuteman? I'll say there's one thing good about that, because it stops people from going behind the dunes and following that path, because it blocks it. You can't even crawl under that crossover. It's the new condominium just north of Minuteman. They put
Oh,
in
where
a
the
big-
surf is, the surf.
Yeah,
The
whatever-
five-story,
yeah,
yeah,
whatever the
very
new one
iconic
is,
one.
yeah. They built a crossover that goes way out on the beach.
Okay.
And there was a path that went behind the dunes that is now blocked by that new crossover.
Okay.
And I know Kelsey and I had some comments about that being excessively long, to say the least. And apparently, obviously it got permitted,
Yeah,
so.
obviously.
Any case,
Don't
But
worry,
again-
Mother Nature might shorten it,
yeah.
as it has so many of them.
Yeah.
The high tide line has come quite close during some of the storms we had last
Yeah.
fall, so.
Yeah, and again, there may be some comments from the beach restoration that's probably gonna occur next summer, I guess, or next spring.
I don't know when it's gonna happen here. I know they're prioritizing the areas of the county that
Right.
were totally obliterated.
Yeah, and south area is worse than
Areas,
here.
yeah.
But in any case, eventually there'll be another renourishment project, and they may have problems with that, let's put it that way.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there was public comment from a resident recently that those Moby mats are not ADD compliant, whatever, compliant for
Yeah.
a dune crossover or something of that nature. And so, I don't know,
So to have from
You
what
know-
I'm understanding in my hearings of all of this, to make it ADA, it has to be a hard surface. So the Moby mat creates that surface, but it can't be covered in sand, right? So then the sand would have to be cleared off, and there has to be a hardened handrail. So the Moby mat standing alone would not meet the requirement.
And Buchanan, that's the way it is, there is no rail up there.
But it increases access,
Right, exactly.
no matter what you call it.
It's a barrier-free.
I think the way DEP refers to those is on grade.
On
I
grade,
just
right.
remembered on
Yeah.
grade, yeah.
Any case, there was one there, and I've looked at it a few times and noticed that the city apparently doesn't roll it up at night, so I'm just curious if there's any possibility that we might be able to use one or two of them here. I don't know. You know, there are some spots where I think even like, say, 3rd Street North, I think, the path goes down through the vegetation and ends at the sandy beach. And that might be a possibility, I don't know. Any case, just
Yeah, I can reach out and ask them there could be some
you know,
criteria
some
that
application.
we don't know about, yeah.
Yeah. Any case, just FYI.
well, one of the things that has been ongoing for many years is when there's a lightning storm, you can't get off the beach very easily at some of the condo areas, that they lock those gates, and no trespassing and everything, but I thought there was something in the state statute that said that they have to allow people to get off the beach during an emergency, like lightning storm or something like that.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Nothing?
I'm not
I
familiar.
mean, you're on the
with that.
beach
I
at
know
your
it's
own
very
risk.
sensitive,
Yeah,
private
exactly.
property and all
Just
that,
I'm
but.
not aware of that.
But, like from Shepherd Park, you would go quite a ways, and then after that next dune crossover by, it used to be the Comfort Inn Street.
There's one.
And then,
There's Palm, there's California, there's 2 or 3 others in that
let's see,
area.
California. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there are two blocks apart on that stretch of Ocean Beach. You know, there's a block with a crossover, there's a block without a crossover, and then the next block up does have a crossover. So there's roughly, I'm guessing 500, 800, maybe 1,000 feet between crossovers. maybe.
But some blocks are longer than others, you know, from,
Yeah, any case.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of anything like that.
you've never heard any of that?
No.
If you find something though, and you bring it back, we can look into it. I just don't know what that means for private
Well,
property.
I just don't know if there's anything we would want to discuss about that, because, you know, July and August particularly, like, tourists or people that don't live here are not fully aware of how dangerous that lightning can be, and they really need to get off the beach, but,
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say that I think those life-saving stations are at every public crossover, if I'm not mistaken. So they are out on the beach proper, so it's fairly easy to see from a good distance away. This is the spot where you can get off the beach.
The Ground Zero station.
Yeah.
With the ring.
so you can, and I guess the beach rangers might be around there. Could give somebody a
I'll bet
lift.
they'll
They're-
be
they're
able to-
probably
if they
the
wanna
first
get out
ones
of the
out.
lightning
I would
storm,
be.
too.
They're not gonna be at risk
Yeah,
either.
lightning is not a good.
But in any case, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there's anything like that, but I'm not aware of that, and I'm not so sure that how many folks would be in favor of that. But in any case, all right. Anything else on this while we're here?
Yeah, I have one more thing. I'm
Sure.
sure it's not going to be a very popular notion at all. You know, they never are. But you know, this boat race every year, it's launched right in the beginning of third month of turtle nesting. It would seem that boat race, as popular as it is, nobody wants to do away with it or anything of the sort. But the date should be moved, because the turtles are all offshore, and it seems like, I know that the turtle preservation, they go up in the helicopter, everybody's trying to spot, but with the numbers of turtles that are coming off the beach, they're right offshore, waiting to come ashore at night. And it would just seem, I know it's, that moving that date would be a big benefit to what we spend an inordinate amount of time and money to protect those turtles. And it is harassment of them. I mean, they're mating there in February, March. They're coming ashore starting March 1st on the South Beaches, you know, going as far south, you know, as Lauderdale. So I just want to throw it out there. You know, they have spotters on boats offshore. They have all kinds of things that they're doing. I just think moving the date would really be a big move to protect the turtles, period, and nobody would have to do all of that. So, just something to think about.
Well, again, that could be something that, again, Kelsey talked about having other topics that might be worthy of consideration. That might be one of them. We'll think about that.
Yeah.
Again, as you say, I do know that there are people that are, as you say, in helicopters, such like, that they do check the course before every part of the event, and that's about as good as it gets. And I don't recall that any have washed up in the last few years as a result of the races. That could be potentially blamed for that. But again, to a certain degree, I agree. It'd be a good idea to have maybe you move that to another time when it's not quite so problematic for the turtles.
Because if I recall, the reason this date was picked was because we didn't have, like, we've had the air show. We didn't have the air show then 15 years ago. Maybe the first one. But it was like, oh, they're not doing anything over there and the hotels aren't busy, so let's pick that date.
Okay.
And nobody ever considered that it's right at the
So
2 months
something,
into turtle
just
nesting.
not to put a fly in the ointment here, but it's in May right now. If you move it too early, then you're going to interfere with right whale migration.
Yeah.
And they come in close to shore, and that's November 1st through April 30th. And that actually is probably a greater threat, because they are at the surface and being in close to shore. And I would imagine those boats would have a higher risk of disrupting them. So I am not an expert, but I just wonder
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
trying to thread the needle there, I'm not sure how to do it.
Yeah, really.
Well, October, are the right whales coming in at October?
The season with the brochure I have is November 1st to April 30th.
And sea turtle season ends October 31st.
So, yeah.
So there's,
Yeah,
Not
it's
bad.
never a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any case, yeah, I hear you, and that's
Yeah, it's something.
something that maybe we should consider. I'm not, well, let's see what comes out of it. All right, anything else while we're here this evening? I think we've got our marching orders to go forth and,
I have one. thing.
Sure, go ahead, Carol.
If we're on to committee member announcements.
sure.
So this isn't, I realize, have anything to do with the beach management. In Kelsey, it may be something that is more appropriately taken up with the sustainability committee. An ordinance or some stronger regulation for dumping and throwing things in the Indian River Lagoon through all of our canals. I just, as a citizen and resident, am increasingly frustrated at the number of landscapers, yard mowers. There's no teeth in it. There's no ordinance. There's no certification to work here in Cocoa Beach. I don't know that there's any kind of education about that. The homeowners themselves, I may be oblivious to it, but it's just so frustrating to me to see the number of yard companies that are just blowing right to the storm drains from the street. And then, even worse, is just straight into the canals, and then goes back to private residence. I observed a neighbor who recently moved into a home, renovated, very lovely, out pulling weeds and literally just throws
Throwing
the
them
weeds
right,
in the
yeah.
and then the very next day, he was out there doing something and he had a shovel. And it was a dead raccoon that I guess had died in his yard. He just throws it into the canal. It's so frustrating
Yeah.
to
Well-
see that there's just that complete disregard. It's that, the solution to pollution. The old school, just throw it in there and it'll be gone. So where do we have a campaign or something that has some teeth as well as the carrot and the stick? I don't know.
Well, I
It's
know-
frustrating.
I know that the extension service over on Lake Drive has classes for lawn maintenance types. And of course, they do have to be certified to apply herbicides, pesticides, such like. And I know that Sorrel and others, certainly the videos about doing proper things with your yard debris is out there. And technically, it is a violation to put materials in surface waters. And
Maybe it's more an educational component to remind people that it is against the law. And then just the landscapers, is there some kind of certification that you have to be certified, or I don't know, pay for the privilege of being lagoon, you're certified as a lagoon friendly yard
KBB does
company?
have that. If you look on, at least one of the spray companies has they're a lagoon-friendly organization, and KBB has been doing that, and I'm sure that Extension also does that, and Stormwater, for that matter, has certainly done a fair amount of work on that as well. But I agree, it's a problem, and it's
So
tough.
what I'm hearing is that we're not doing a good enough job at getting the information out to people, because all of these resources exist. It's in city code, but then again, we can't be everywhere at once, so it comes down to education. So, Carol, we have this information. I can push some of this out immediately, not this very second, but we can get some information out over the next few weeks. As part of our national pollution discharge elimination system
Right.
through the state of Florida, we have to put this information out. It may just be that we're not putting it out at the right times, the right places, maybe not as frequently as we should. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, because that is one of my things, and I'm supposed to get this out there, and we have it, we just need to do a better job
So
at getting it
maybe
to people.
working on it and then getting it through the social media channels.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when there's Cocoa Beach this, Cocoa Beach local. I mean, there's so many people on there, and then you've got your local neighbors, everyone's griping about something. Maybe
Right.
there's just ways to keep pushing that out.
So what we can do as a city is we can put it on our
Right.
channels.
Yes.
I can't
I know.
put it on someone else's.
You
but
can
would
only
just be
hope
up
it
to
gets
the,
picked up.
the public to share it with
Right.
their, other residents.
By the way, did you
Well,
get
the
on Cocoa Beach?
CBN, I think, is really under, the addresses that exist in that database are underutilized for that kind of information. It's all that, whatever, fiestas this weekend, or, what, Friday Fest is great, but, those are the kinds of things. But as to the landscapers, it seems to me, they really hate me saying this, but I say it a lot. The contractors, some of them are really good. They come,
And
they
there
get
are
a
others.
permit, but then they show up in your neighborhood and they seem to think, because they have a permit to do some work, that it's in total disregard of the people who live there. I mean, it's just like, oh, we're here, we have the permit. And North Banana River Boulevard has always been a really serious problem about the weed whacking. But when the city replaced those trees, I don't know, time goes by quickly, but maybe 6-8 years ago, maybe not that long ago, there was a proposal not to replant grass on that skinny little median. So they replanted the grass because the people who attended the meeting didn't want pavers. And it's a constant balance in my mind and in my neighborhood between grass and pavers. And, do you get rid of the grass so you don't have it all getting weed whacked going down the storm drains, et cetera? Or do you take out, most people are going over the 90% lot coverage that they're allowed to do with impermeable surface and creating more of a heat sink here. I don't know, what's the solution? No permeable, they take the grass out, they don't want to weed whack anymore or have someone come there, so,
Just as soon as I said that one popped up. Yeah.
good luck with that. I'm all for it.
Any case, there's always narc on your neighbors. Call code enforcement if they're
So you
doing
can
something.
report illicit discharge like that. That would be illicit discharge to, I think it's just stormwater at cityofcocobeach.com. And then you can always call, and we have inspectors that can go out and look at it if they're available. But if you throw a raccoon in there, I don't know what you're gonna find after that.
Correct, or that you see them discharging all the grass clippings, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be beneficial for anybody that's listening. If it's something that you see reoccurring, that it could just be, we have door hangers we can leave on people's doors that say, hey, this has been noticed in your neighborhood. Please take special care to make sure this
Oh.
doesn't continue to happen. But again, that is about resources. We have
Yeah,
one stormwater superintendent who would do those things.
okay.
So if you see something, let us know. We can go put something on
Okay.
door hangers.
The door hanger it could be just as simply, oh, I didn't think about it before.
Mhm. A lot of people just
We'll
don't
keep
know.
Walker busy.
Walker doesn't do that. Put things on people's doors. That's someone else in that.
Walker's guy's busy. Any
Well,
case.
we have had a big reduction, I would say, in scavenging possums and raccoons since we got these new garbage things.
Really?
But I also noticed that
It's coyotes.
the Truly Nolan guy, or whoever it is, not them exclusively, but they put those rodent boxes around with warfarin in it. And I really think that is the most awful thing, because whatever rodents go in and eat that, they go and drink water, and it's a terrible way to go. And then the not the buzzards exclusively, but other
Other critters feed on
that
the
eat that,
carcasses. Yeah.
then they get the warfarin too,
Yeah.
which I really think it should be banned as, I think there are other things you can do, like get a cat. All
Any
the
case.
cat has to do is rub up against the wall of the garage or on the outside of a building, and the rodents are like, hey, I'm not going there, there's a cat around. So they don't have to be a feral cat or something, just to provide that. But I just, maybe his raccoon died from eating something like that,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Any case.
All
Okay.
right.
Anything else this evening while we're here? Our next meeting is scheduled for June 12th. I will do my best to call in from the far reaches of the world and thanks to Kelsey for helping out with that, because I really appreciate your help on that. Okay,
Good.
are we good?
We're good.
All right,
Have
thank
all
you.
mine.
I believe we are adjourned, and again, June 12th is the next